European markets, look at the numbers. Particularly look at Paris, down 8.39%. The FTSE was also off by a three-year low. Italy's MIB index failed to open and then closed down 11%. It's been in lockdown on 16 million people in an effort to contain Europe's biggest virus outbreak. A quarter of the population in Italy are close to surpassing South Korea's. William Vijlder is the chief economist at BNP Paribas. He joins me now from Paris. Let's just begin with a straightforward prediction. Do you believe that the Eurozone or the EU will go into recession?
Well, the likelihood, of course, has become very high because there is the impact coming from China, which still needs to show up in the data to any significant degree. And in addition, you now have the quarantine in northern Italy, which is representing 40% of Italian GDP. So that country, which in turn represents 15% of Eurozone GDP in its own right, will already act as a drag, but then it will have a knock-on effect via international trade to the rest of the Eurozone partners. And then that is not without even mentioning, of course, the impact now of the huge drop in oil prices and in financial markets.
This chaos, in some senses, that we saw today also creates its own self-defeating and downward spiral, doesn't it? Consumer confidence falls. How bad is it at the moment, do you think, in France, consumer confidence?
Well, what's striking is that all in all, the survey data, be it business surveys or household surveys, have held up quite well. And also, we should not try to make too close a link between financial markets, equity markets, and consumer sentiment, be it in France or in the Eurozone, because on the whole, households in the Eurozone and in France have only a small percentage in equities. What we do see, and we've seen the announcement of the Banque de France this morning, is that the weakening of the business survey data has already pushed the Banque de France to revise downwards its estimate for first quarter growth to 0.1%.
Well, you may as well say in recession at zero. I mean, when you're at that sort of level, it makes not a jot of difference whether you're plus or minus in that sense. One important point is what you want now policymakers to do, because the ECB is meeting this week. Do you really and seriously want them to push rates negative with all the consequences that come with that?
Let's be clear, this is not a story about interest rates being too high. As you know, they are incredibly low. And for corporate borrowing, for household borrowing, so interest rates is not the issue. I think what is important is to make sure that financial markets and the flow of credit and corporate financing continues in a very fluid way. And that is why I think they should increase the volume of the asset purchases, to do more quantitative easing, and in addition as well, to put actually kind of indicate, show that if necessary, they will have targeted lending programs that would benefit small and mid-sized companies, which are really bearing the brunt of the economic shock that is coming towards us.
I understand the reason for this, but more negative rates, okay, I can get you on that, but more QE, more LTRO, isn't that just setting in stone more problems for the future?
Well, admittedly, we're kind of confronted with a dilemma situation, which means that is it a case of lose-lose? I would argue that if you don't do anything, you are really running the risk that financial conditions will deteriorate gradually, that spreads will widen, and that will come a day that you will regret not having done anything. And that is, I think, you should go forward and do something.
We hope you'll come back as things carry on and help us understand. Good to have you on the programme tonight, sir. Very much appreciated.